Okay, we're gonna go refill some coffee. Okay. Warmer, much better. How's everybody doing? Hope y'all been hanging out, doing all right. I'm just gonna play with this little scale build and throw a few things around, maybe listen to a couple other things as I'm doing it. Hope everybody's having a nice morning. It's nice and brisk here on 4/20/21, 2021, 4/20/2021. Almost a tongue twister. It's only like 38 degrees right now here in Michigan. And it's got my body flopping. That temperature change hurts. Yeah, I'm going to redo those. See, I've got my cantilevers put on, flop to the other side. Actually, in the middle. Probably going to redo them. Just trying to get things set up. I got to redo the front a little bit, waiting for the metal shock tower. Hopefully when it comes, I'll be able to get it in place and then drop it down a little bit. Get this bottom flattened out just a smidge. And if I'm careful with what I'm doing, I might be able to actually put a couple mount holes in and be able to lift the front end a little bit here to get just a little bit of camber or caster, I'm sorry, into the front arms. There's a little bit now because the back of this is setting a little lower than the front, but I'd like the ability to maybe try to set this up so I could adjust this front pod a little bit for the front end. Setting the cantilevers on the back side, I just used some standoff, so it's got the shocks kind of wicked, and I haven't done the shocks yet. They're pretty empty on oil and still new, have to be gone through. These are SSD shocks from the Trail King, same as the rear end. This is an SSD Wraith high ratio transmission. Traxxas right now, bottom plate, and Bandit, cut up Bandit front end. These Bandit with arms or slash arms or whatever. Traxxas easily replaceable front end arms. So that's just a chopped up Bandit chassis. The whole front capsule part from the front of the battery tray, including the front battery tray part forward. But I've got a SCX-10-2, which gives you the same bolt pattern and tranny positioning, so I can get this tranny mounted. I think it'll be over here. I'm going the other way, potentially. But anyways, I'll be able to get this tranny mounted on that plate and give me a little bit more room because it brings it up a little bit, makes room for the piece. So this plate will be going away. This is part of the cantilever shock, so I don't need it. I'm going to use it as a brace somewhere. I've just got stuffed in there right now. These are just cheap Amazon Chinese knockoff front and rear bumper pieces, Traxxas chassis rails. So a bit of a slosh half hybrid mutt build. But these are the fun ones. This is where you actually got to kind of engineer stuff or back engineer it and fab and do a little work tweaking. And right now this is initial setup. So I figured I'd, take a look at it and what I can do. I've got, like I said before, on my other ones, I've got different rear tubes I got some work to do on one of them, on one side of the one that I'm going to use for the rear end, to mod that out for more of a drag styled rear end. And if you understand drag style rear end, you understand I'm talking about a shortened rear end. Here, actually, go ahead and grab those real quick. So what I got, these are actually front tubes for the SSD axles out of the Trail King kits, or the SCX-10-2 axle replacements if you get the SSD kits. And as you see, you know, the one's longer than the others, made for an offset set of axles for offset pumpkins, you know, set on the side, so it gives you the right width. But this nice short one, this is the same length as these tubes that are on here, as you can see. It's a replacement. So once it's in place, and might be, well, it might be a little shorter because of the front end, but that's going to be just fine the way I'm going to do it. So I got to take this longer one and mirror the end here, right from the mount out, to be the same as the shorter one. This is just a punched milled piece, so it's solid all the way through from the drill hole, so that it doesn't, like, it gets real big in there and I won't be able to turn down to get to this size here. So I'm going to mirror this side and match to that. And then I have to take my axles, and I'm going to buy a couple extra sets just so I got them, and I got to modify them and shorten them. So I'll have shorter axles, and that will allow me to run the Traxxas Funny Car rear wheels, because they have they're a deep dish wheel with rear offset, or I can get the weld wheels, pay $450, buy a set of the weld Traxxas wheels and run those on this setup. So that's kind of why I'm doing that way. I'm going with a scale build. I was going to use leaf springs, but leaf springs would have been kind of hard, and most guys running old cars, this is going to get an old body. So most guys running in 1-to-1 scaling, they have a 4-link suspension. This is, of course, quite a bit different and longer than a general 4-link suspension on a drag car. Usually they're short and they're mounted up in here. I may do something and make some mounts and actually use shorter links and do something a little bit more here that would allow me to get a bit of a shorter length here, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think once I put just a couple pieces of bumper in there and bring this up, I'm going to have plenty of movement for, you know, drag racing. I think it's going to be just fine, regardless of how I get these mounted shocks going forward, shocks going backwards like they're supposed to be, which is probably how it's going to end back up. I might have to drill a couple different holes just to give me a couple different mounting points. I can actually mount right here, right now, and that's what I did have when I had them all flipped around, and I might just go back to that because that worked out pretty good. It stuck it up. I can shorten my link here and put a shorter link in, or collapse it down and still screw in a little bit farther and get that shorter link done. But this is a fun little throw together, but I'm still waiting on some parts, so I can't do too much more to it at the moment. I'm waiting on, like I say, a new skid plate, a new front shock tower. I'm also waiting on the front caster blocks. I got some aluminum caster blocks, and I'll be running stock steering blocks in there for shits and giggles. But what I figured I would do, also while I'm here, probably, I think I showed this in one of my other videos. This is the body that's actually going to be for this rig. And this is the Ford 1956 F100 body. We got here a couple different pieces I've hacked off of something. I think I know what those are. I need some eyes to see. Let's see, yeah, the 56 Ford F100 from Proline. It was as close as the body that I could get for what I wanted to do. I've already got a idea. Of course, the theme I'm going to do on this is based out of a very similar body. I couldn't find the exact body I wanted, but this was close, so it will work. Oh, that's that bag. The other parts I cut off those other axes with this, and that's where these go. So let me slide these axes back in. And we'll get this bad boy opened up. Of course, everybody's probably seen these before, or at least similar bodies. This is actually like not necessarily the Proline type drag body, but it will work as a Proline drag body, or as a drag body. And for what I'm doing with this theme build, like I said, it's very similar to what I needed for a body for the theme I'm going on, but not quite perfect. But it should work out well. It's actually, I got room. I could actually leave that. I really don't even have to cut down those. And I can certainly use slash width arms. I wouldn't even have to cut those down. I don't have hexes right now either, so I do have to get hexes. Let me see, so I might have a couple. I actually do have a couple hexes. A little wider ones, but I think they'd actually work for this body. There's some Trio 8mm brass, so they're kind of heavy. A little added weight, but let's see. I need to grab a couple pins. Find these in place. Traxxas cross pins go right into these SSD holes, so that won't be a problem. These do have an Allen set on them, but I won't need them right now. Set that there. And because these drag rims are 14mm, that might not leave much room for screw with those wide hexes on there, because I've got to add Don't like that that's so tight. But I think for what I'm going for, it will suffice. So I can pop it out. I won't stuff it in all the way. But I do have different hexes coming. Some thinner ones. Just simple thin axials. But they're metal, so they'll... They're metal, so they'll work. Then a little better. I just want to get them in there and kind of let it set and see where we're at. Because that's going to kind of dictate a little bit. Let's see if I can get these to set here. Right now, these are banded arms, so I can go back to a slash width arm and bring those out a little farther. Oh yeah, those will covers right up and plenty of room on the back wheels without making that thin. Good deal. That makes it easier. So I can just buy metal rear tubes if I want to go that route. Yeah, buddy. I can go into slash arms and stick those front wheels out farther. I've got a set. Actually, I might even do that. Let's see. These are the same width or not. These are E Stampede, E Rustler, and two-wheel drive and nitro slash front arms. And these are just a set of Traxxas 3631 front arms. Yeah, and these are pretty much the same arms. So yeah, I've got a couple sets of front arms to widen it back out, which is fine. I'll take these Traxxas off and they can go back on one of my other no preps where I need the thinner, these bandit ones off, and then go on one of the no preps where I need the thinner ones. Sweet! And that will set very low. Easy body mount to do on this. If you've seen how I've done a couple of my other mounts, it works pretty simple. So when it comes time to actually throwing the rest of this together, that'll be actually pretty easy to do. Push this trio out, hopefully without messing it up. There we go. So yeah, this should be a fun little project. As long as I get the front end nice and square, and that's one of these adjustments I'm going to be able to do is by turning these screws back here, and then I'm gonna figure out where it's centered, and then I'll be able to put spacers in there and shims and move it side to side to kind of steer it, and I'll be able to do this same thing in the front here. I should be able to get it all centered and mounted, but if I have to shift it a little bit, I'll be able to put a couple shims in place and then shift the shock tower in the front and shift the center pod basically to get it square and, you know, squared into the chassis so it's tracking straight, not dog tracking on me. So now I've got to dig into that trash pile and find the pin I just dropped in there. Where do you come from? Okay, let's take that around the corner and deal with that a little bit later. Slide the little washer out of the way. Speaking of washer and shim, and we'll drop those in there for now. So yeah, goes back over there. This can pile up here for the moment. But yeah, that should work out really well. That's actually not bad because this axle is only barely not even 9 inches wide. I mean, I've got a 9-inch span, and as you can see, I've got, you know, easy a third of an inch, maybe at least a quarter of an inch on each end, so half an inch difference. So, you know, end to end, this axle is only like 8.5 inches wide. So something like this would fit under most drag bodies, even with the Praxis deep dish drag wheels from the funny car. Maybe Praxis is doing something a little different. They've been very hush-hush since they've announced their unit. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyways, yeah, this body's a nice little body. Now I won't be using pretty much any of the stickers. It comes with a nice little set. You know, probably I might use the headlights actually, or at least the rings, and yeah, I'll probably put the headlights on. They look pretty good. Might use the door handles, a couple other little parts on here. So there's a few of these stickers I may use besides the window mask when I'm, you know, doing the paint. But paint will be pretty basic as far as the paint goes. Be a couple little things, you know, but nothing too extravagant. Well, I want to say nothing too extravagant. What I want to say is nothing too busy. It would be a very basic one-tone paint job for the most part. There'll be a lot of rust and a little bit of color. But once it's done, I think this will actually be a really cool drag theme truck. I was thinking about starting to trim it out. Get some of the trimming done. This is thick. And one thing about Proline is their bodies are thick. That will take a couple poundings before it's got a problem. But yeah, I think overall this is going to work out really well and be, like I say, a really fun build, fun topic piece. So anyways, I figured I'd spend a half hour and kind of piss around and just talk about what this thing is. There's some crazy shit going down the country, so I'm trying to keep up on all that. So anyways, I'm gonna fiddle with this and grab something finally for breakfast. So you guys have a good one.